Hi everyone, Sam here, back for 2024. I am like a kid in a candy store. I'm wearing Action Red. I could not be more excited for these next few weeks, this entire year. This next 6 months, I think, is going to be utterly unreal if you've never experienced um, the attention that this market can get, the amount of money that can flow into it suddenly, the volatility. And that's probably the biggest thing I just want to mention right off the bat. I'm expecting volatility. Now, that just means really extreme moves up, down, even sideways, if that's even possible. But I just don't think it's going to be a straight line up or, straight line down, go sideways forever. It's just we're going to see some serious movements in this market of people feeling extreme FOMO, speculation, rug pulls, buying the dip, ripping to the upside, derivative players getting wiped out in the longs and the shorts. This is why we really encourage longer term time horizons and investment strategies that will hold you in good stead, where you are not playing that short term, noisy mindset where you're emotionally getting ripped to shreds, trading the ups and the downs in the short term. When you're more experienced and sophisticated, you can absolutely do that with a small percentage of portfolio, which we're doing currently, which has just been really lucrative. Myself, I've made I think probably more money in the last month trading than I had in the last 6 months. So for mine, if you identify certain things, especially in bullish markets, which I can outline today a little bit on the charts, which I've been following, you can make a lot of money or at least supplement your income by doing those shorter term trades and identifying it. But the heavy lifting should come from your portfolio, and you should be really concentrating on that now, building, accumulating. Last year really was an accumulation year, the recovery year. I'm thinking this year is going to be pretty big, enormous, really. Um, but again, there will be ups and downs. You don't want to go too hard, too quick. You still want to be patient. You want to be sober about everything. But I could not be more excited. And maybe I'll just rehash what I wrote. So this video, guys, is not going out just to the mastermind. I'm going to put it out to everyone because I want to start the year with a really big bang and just go through some things to keep you all across it. Because again, I think the ETF is going to be the largest demand side catalyst in Bitcoin's history. Crypto investors, and I had a long sort of back and forth. Some of the mastermind clients I thought was really, really valuable. I can maybe share it in a sec, but just overall, I think crypto investors are conditioned to expect sell the news events. Now we might have a bit of a drop away, speculators sort of, dump it a little bit, after the approval comes out. But I don't think crypto investors are fully across what this actually means over the next few months. This is instant demand of institutions hitting our market. We've wanted this and thought this was coming for years. Institutions are coming, blah, blah. They're here. Sometimes things are exactly as they seem. And with a tightly illiquid market, which Bitcoin currently is, with these long-term holders just not selling because they expect much, much higher prices and they kind of see how everything's going and they just don't want to hold. They're high conviction. When you bring on suddenly on some conservative investments of 50 billion, some are saying 100 billion in the first year, and I'm seeing Nate Geraci, one of the ETF, part of the Bloomberg boys, I call them, James, Eric, and then you've got Nate, who's, I think, the ETF Institute. He's actually saying that in his personal opinion, he believes the Bitcoin ETFs will be the most bought ETFs on launch week than has ever seen in history. So that's bigger than gold, that's bigger than everything. Because I think the hype machine that is behind this, BlackRock, Fidelity, you name it, Galaxy, Bitwise, they're all releasing their ads just starting to just release the marketing engine of this. They all want this to be a success. They do not want to see a 20% drop on approval. Mark my words, they do not want to see that. They want interest, eyeballs, money. They want investors throwing just everything out. They want frothiness. They want a bit of FOMO in the market. They want to make fees. At the end of the day, that's what they want. They want to make money. You've got the Fidelities of the world who are actually true believers of Bitcoin, and the head of Fidelity is an absolute hardcore Bitcoiner. They're here for the long haul. They know what this represents. But something like BlackRock, still very skeptical of Larry Fink and whatnot. He says it's transformative. He says it's a flight to quality and all that. I believe those things. I don't know if he believes what he's saying. I could be totally wrong. But they've got floors of people dedicated to this now, and I think they're getting reasonably orange pilled with what's going on. It's very exciting. They've even got JP Morgan, who came out, Jamie Dimon, who came out in Congress and said that, crypto should be banned, should be shut down. It's a Ponzi scheme. Now they're an authorized approver for the BlackRock ETF. I mean, give me a break. It shows you that their investors are demanding this asset to be put on their balance sheets. Guys, again, I may sound like a perma bull, but it's just been my thesis all year that this is not something you want to underestimate as a slow grind, instant hit on the market. You're going to have speculators front running this, of course, and that's maybe where you get the derivatives wipe out. You might see some of that volatility, but do not pick up pennies in front of the steamroller. And that's a saying I love to bring to you, because you can try and kid yourself into thinking you are smarter than the biggest algorithms, biggest traders, biggest sophisticated investors on the planet. You might think you can catch, a 5 to maybe 20, 30% drop to the downside. If you can catch that, congratulations, well done. You did a fantastic job. Sell here and buy lower, terrific. And it is possible we go back to 32,000 at some point, or 35,000, whatnot. But the higher conviction, higher probability play, and the safest play for the majority of people watching this is to see this exactly for what this is, position for this next year, and get really, really excited in how things are going to evolve with not only Bitcoin, Ethereum, altcoins. The thing with these institutions, and this is what I'm hearing through multiple podcasts, and insiders are very generous with their time and providing some free content and whatnot, is these institutions are looking to obviously give Bitcoin and Ethereum to their clients, but there's also this underwriting feeling that once these ETFs are getting approved, there likely is going to be more, there's going to be indexes and whatnot. So there is pre-positioning for indexes. So kind of index funds, when you think of the S&P 500, they lump together the top 500 tech stocks into that, and it's a high-performing ETF, it's a high-performing sort of index. So the idea is you're seeing this year Solana, AVAX, Link, and a few others run. They're kind of like the blue chips of the different niches. So, layer ones, but put Ethereum out of that. Layer one, Solana, AVAX gaming, it's had a really strong one. Chainlink's Oracle's got a lot of real world applications and whatnot that's really going well. But there is this kind of spread where a lot of these funds are not only looking to get Bitcoin and Ethereum, but pre-positioning, the strategy around this will be they want to gather 5 of the top assets or 10 of the top assets, at least start accumulating it. And that's what you see when highly liquid markets have seen a ton of selling for over 2 years. You see that uptick of buying demand, and suddenly we're in a bull market. So just quickly read this. 2024 is going to be one to remember the rest of your lives. I truly believe this. And even if it doesn't turn out to be, raging bull market, and I personally believe we're going to front run what everyone else thinks the bull market is, 2025, blow off top. I suspect we actually see much higher prices faster than everyone thinks, sooner towards the halving, maybe a little bit afterwards. This year, especially in macro finance as well, we probably see a recession. We could see another black swan event. That's why volatility has to be on your mind, to have some dry powder to catch the downside if it arrives, sure. But a longer term positioning is just so important. Only weeks, maybe days away from an ETF approval, and then the Bitcoin halving in April. So yes, there was rumors speculating that tomorrow there was going to be an ETF approval. That's kind of come out as a bit of cold water on that, but it does seem like we're in the window, a week or 2 at max. So this market is going to get hot. It's going to be frothy. We're already seeing Bitcoin start to break out of the range. We'll have a look in a sec. So it's kind of like pre-bidding that news. Again, I don't think there'll be a sell the rumor. And when I say buy the rumor, sell the news. When I say that, I just don't expect the market to just fall over, straight after. We could have a drawdown, maybe back to 42, 40 after that, maybe a little bit lower, sure. But I think it's going to be a short-term effect. So again, if you're playing a trading mindset, you can do that. But longer term, who gives a toss? You just look at it that way. And Bitcoin halving in April. So there's multiple catalysts lining up, and you've got the Fed looking to cut rates this year, loosen monetary policy. It's a perfect storm, honestly. Massive congratulations to all those that cut your teeth in a dark bear market, survived, thrived, and are now ready to reap the rewards of the biggest bull market in history. So there's a lot of you watching this in the graduates group, Mastermind. You've been here through the thick and thin, and you're in that really good spot where you're starting to see your portfolio begin to, rise really quickly. A lot of those buys that you've done, previously where it felt uncomfortable to buy, it's going up. You're starting to feel a bit of confidence. It's good for your morale. And I would just say this is just the start. So if you're not good with emotion, if you're overwhelmed when things start popping off, the biggest advice I could give you right now is sit down, turn the chat, or sort of turn the noise off of Twitter and whatnot, and just have a look at your plan and see if it's still relevant. Look at your if this then that kind of strategy. If it hits this, are you going to take profit? If it hits that, are you going to take profit? What is your framework that you're looking at? Make sure it's rigid, but also have the flexibility to be dynamic with it and change, for example, if Bitcoin's racing to 100,000, then you see multiple, like the US adopter, you'll say Kennedy or Trump gets in and they say, yeah, we like Bitcoin, we're going to put it on our balance sheet. You're not really selling your Bitcoin at that moment, are you? So you just kind of like play the ball where it lies, but technicals should drive things. Fundamentals for me have driven all year. That is completely overrun the technicals. And thankfully that's paid off. That was my thesis. So happy days. But we do expect the technicals to come back eventually and reassert itself. But right now, this is a supply shock, supply and demand dynamic, which is just coming into its real, starting phase, that heat. That said, I do expect the sort of the ETF, sort of that speculation to be not majorly priced in, but to a certain degree already priced in. I suspect we go to 50, maybe a little bit higher on approval. Who knows? Could be very, very surprising that shorter term. But generally, when this demand will hit, slowly and grinding, in my view, and towards the halving, it's going to be that slow move up, similar to what Grayscale and whatnot happened last time. I digress. For anyone new, excited, overwhelmed, who has never seen a truly bullish market, let's make 2024 one that changes your life. Couldn't be more excited for today and this year. So I wanted to bring a really strong, positive energy for you guys because that's how I felt. As soon as Christmas ended and we started to get towards New Year's, I just wanted that hour to tick over into that new year 2024. I feel this is going to be a huge year for everyone who's done the work and has put in, and you're ready to go. Okay, let me stop sharing the screen and move on over to my charts because the last few videos I have not done that and it's been a real bummer. So just a bit of an update on that. So Fox Business, doubt spot Bitcoin ETFs program will happen tomorrow. SEC needs to review changes to Thursday, Friday's S1 filings and comment, given SEC staff being off since Friday. So this is really important. It's probably driven a lot of what we've been seeing, especially in December, when they were fast tracking a lot of stuff before Christmas. Everyone getting a bit excited, but really it was always January. They just needed to get in a lot of the admin stuff. It really seems like this is just a fait accompli, and they're trying to get as much work done as quickly as possible to get all these funds launched almost at the same time and whatnot. But so yeah, I think this is really, really great. They need to review those changes till Thursday, Friday with those S1 filings. So I wouldn't doubt this. I think it's exactly as it seems. And Fox Business has generally been pretty good around this. But I would be paying attention, as always, to James Seyfarth, Eric Barhouse, and Nate Geraci for those updates. Because right now, if I just quickly have a look at James, and these are the Bloomberg boys, ETF analysts, and they've just been phenomenal, just giving everyone free content, free updates, really sophisticated information about these ETFs, keeping everyone informed. And I think VJ said the same thing here. So James and the other guys, they're still off, I think, on holidays for a little bit, but a lot of this is going to drop, and I'm sure they'll update us. And they're really the gold stamp of truth around this. If they say something is happening or they're hearing something, if it's been delayed, if rejected, all that, you believe what they're saying because they have been right, 99% of the time with a high degree of likelihood. All right, Bitcoin's starting to ramp, which is really, really nice. And I think insiders are starting to bid this pretty hard, although technically it looked like it was probably going to break out anyway. So that's all great. My 4-hour RSI really just ducked into that power zone. So this has legs. I've got my little squiggles here where I sort of thought that's the way price would go. It kind of did the staircase up, didn't have the follow through from the top there. So we'll probably delete them, which is nice. But what we really want to see here, guys, and this is really important, it's probably my core trading strategy of late. It's been really, really successful, and I think it's going to hold everyone watching this in good stead going into a bull market, is waiting for a reclaim of the breakdown. So you can see over here, 44,000 back in December the 11th, 2023. We broke down and we've been consolidating ever since. So, you know, you can catch a knife on the way down if that's, you know, what you want to do. But one of the better strategies that I found is it's classic, isn't it? Support and resistance. You flip resistance into support, you're going higher. Generally, that's how it works. So with a higher probability play, you're going to win more trades than you lose. And even with my trading of late, I still reckon I'm batting at about 80%, but the losses are small losses. I cut them quick, but the wins are really big. And that's really important. Keeping risk small, leverage small. So I'm not doing spot trading, guys. I'll be very transparent. I'm doing small leverage trades where I can manage my risk but outperform really strongly, and I have my long-term portfolio. Easy, done. Gives me clarity. I'm very driven on what I'm doing, and without, you know, sort of spot trading everywhere, also doing leverage, you know, got everything all over the place. So I would highly encourage to get a clear idea of how you're approaching everything. But back to this. So that's a very clear breakdown level. You can see it broke down there and just whipped all the way down. But this line here, actually right on volume support, we've cracked through it. It's a really good sign. A lot of people will FOMO in right now, and that's not the right approach. You really want to, well, I mean, you can, but myself personally, I would layer in bids back down to support, but the better play is to wait for the close, which is the 4 hour happening now. You also want to wait for the daily close, but the lower you go, 1 hour, 4 hour, the earlier you can be and to catch the bigger move. But the longer you wait, the more confirmation you'll get, less gain. So that's kind of my view. It looks like Bitcoin just wants to ramp, but I would be very surprised if we do not get, you know, a little bit of a pullback here down to retest the breakdown level, which is now flipped, we hope, as support. But this is a pretty clear validation that's ripped right through. So I think Bitcoin's going higher here. This looks fairly promising. And I guess with the ETF stuff, I mean, I've got on here, what was that? January the 8th. So that's kind of the area, that's the region that the ETF is likely to be approved. Could get approved in the next few days, sure. But that's where I'm kind of aiming, January the 8th. I think that's the ARC date, where I think they're just going to do a flurry of approvals all in one, where this could really ramp up to that 50,000 mark on Bitcoin, you know, maybe higher. But that's kind of my target, 48,000, 50,000. I know Joe's target was about 48,000. He's had on this chart for a little while. I wouldn't be surprised if we, you know, butt into that, you know, super FOMO, super excitement, and then we have a larger drawdown back to 44,000 over the next few months, or maybe over a month, and then we sort of pick up again. And then we've got the 24th. What was that? I feel like that was important. Why have I forgotten that? But regardless, then we've got the Ethereum ETF coming in, I think, May, and then and we've got, you know, April, May, the Bitcoin halving in April, and then, you know, Ethereum ETF. So I would expect the market to stay pretty frothy. I'd expect Bitcoin to have a really strong drive, and then altcoins to just rip, absolutely rip. I'm kind of seeing that now. There's a little bit of hesitancy with the altcoins because they're seeing Bitcoin sort of run on this narrative, and that's what I want to drive home. Bitcoin is going to drive everything. Altcoins have had, you know, a little bit of time in the sun. That rising tide lifts all ships, so they're going to rise up with Bitcoin here. But on edge, liquidity kind of wants to go into Bitcoin here, or maybe BRC20, maybe, you know, stack something like that to maybe seek that outperformance. But right now, liquidity, I wouldn't be surprised, is going to rush from alts into Bitcoin to catch this move, and then boy, are altcoins going to absolutely rip. So yeah, altcoins a little bit flat here, which is good to see if we're looking for Bitcoin to really go. What else? Maybe let's have a look at the daily. Oh, geez, that looks phenomenal. And you can see here that Bitcoin has just broken this downtrend of the RSI momentum as well. So break up, you know, break up. Jeez. Yeah, that looks absolutely fantastic. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Also, Grayscale, I'd keep an eye on this. I've been using as a little bit of a tell in terms of, you know, when an ETF might get approved. It seems to have, you know, stopped a little, plateaued a little bit, about that 7%. But when the discount to NAV gets to 0, essentially it means that all the big investors know that the ETF is happening on that, or close to happening, and the conversion will happen as well. There's still a bit of uncertainty about Grayscale if they're going to get the conversion at the same time. So maybe that's why the premium hasn't, you know, completely closed. I know some big investors like Kathy Wood and whatnot have closed their positions. for me, that makes a ton of sense because Kathy was releasing her own Bitcoin ETF. Why would she be in something that maybe has more risk that she's not involved in and all that kind of stuff? So that was kind of my thing around that. But you can look at the GBT discount, and that is an indicator you can look at through the indicator GBTC premium/discount. I'm also looking in terms of other trades, coming up. There's that thought around moving from, and we can just have a quick look at Ethereum here. I just don't see Ethereum going, ramping just yet until Bitcoin makes its drive. And I think Ethereum does take over for a little bit in terms of tries to catch up, goes 2,600, 2,800, 30,000 potentially. But the trade that I think is on everyone's lips is the FBTC. When is it going to flip? Because I know, again, a lot of people are looking to outperform Bitcoin with Ethereum to make more Bitcoin. But right now, it's just continuously falling down. And I was waiting for, a close at least back into this wedge. But really, I wanted to wait for a reclaim of the breakdown level. Surprise, surprise, back up here on this green line. And it just hasn't done that. It's shown no strength. It got completely rejected out of this wedge. So I wouldn't be surprised to see this go another leg lower. A lot of people would have got in on this, say, bullish divergence, but it's just kind of blowing down. Bitcoin looking like it wants to ramp. So Bitcoin going to gain strength. This is probably going to go lower. Where I think, and to be honest, I think once the Bitcoin ETF is rubber stamped and approved, and I think investors do turn their attention to Ethereum, and that starts to run towards, May. And then when this chart flips, I think, you can really outperform. So once it gets back here, I'm sort of missing out on this kind of 24% move, and maybe you do a market buy when it's in here and sort of manage that risk. But from there, up is another 30%. Might be missing on 10, 20% first of that move, but I want to catch the rest. Alternatively, if you're a bit higher risk investor, I'd be looking as well at, Solana Bitcoin. You can start to look at these kind of charts because if you have the same rationale as you're looking at Ethereum, we know Ethereum is underperforming and that just hasn't really fired this year, but what is performing? Look for those charts with momentum and lower market caps. Solana has a much, much lower market cap than Ethereum, and it's had tremendous momentum this year, and we know it's going to run. I mean, it is. It's what is $100 right now, US. There's kind of like this self-fulfilling prophecy. Everyone kind of thinks it's going to 1,000. It probably goes a bit higher. In the bull market, I wouldn't be surprised. So if you're doing that rationale, you invest a whole Bitcoin. Let's say you trade Bitcoin into Solana, full Bitcoin, let's say 65,000, give or take, in Australian dollars into Solana, thinking that, well, if this goes to $500 Solana, you've done a 5x. That's not bad, getting 5 Bitcoin back for an investment into Solana, and then you don't even have to go into Bitcoin. You can just hold the Solana and sort of play the US dollar trade as well. But this is where you can do higher risk, but outperform even Ethereum and look at that. You can also look at Solana to Ethereum. If your aim is to acquire more Ethereum, you can look at Solana because Ethereum is going to run at some point. It's the second largest after Bitcoin. It's got the ETF, it's got that demand coming in, and everyone hates it right now. They don't want to look at it, they don't want to talk about it. And I think that is super interesting as an investor. When everyone else is looking the other way, generally that tends to run. But Solana Bitcoin as an example, and I've already done some pre-work on this chart because I'm interested in this trade because I'm thinking of maybe taking on a bit more risk than looking at Ethereum. But maybe that's dangerous. I might do both. We'll see. I'm waiting for certain triggers. And right now that trigger on Sol BTC. So let's say if Solana sort of does its thing, goes to 140, that's maybe a 30% rise. That's it's just really easy because Solana's $100. It can really move fast to 140, 200 really quick. Versus Ethereum, it's much slower, higher market cap. It struggled to get to 2,000 for a long time. It's got to 2,300, stopped again. It's much smaller increases. But for mine, I'm looking for, surprise, surprise, a reclaim of those breakdown levels. But for this to kind of give me a lot more confidence, I'm waiting for reclaim of that there, which kind of was the top over here. So get back on top of this, flip resistance into support. I'll get very interested there. And this was the breakdown level up here. And that is my sort of get really aggressive at that level because Solana is gaining hard against Bitcoin. After that, she's off. She's making new highs against BTC pair. But right now, not totally sold. I was tempted to do a little bit, but the high conviction play is, guess what? Bitcoin right now, leading the ETF. You're a brave person selling your Bitcoin for almost a guaranteed move versus going into something just to be speculative and be a little bit more early. So that's my higher term time preference coming in there, my lower risk brain sort of kicking me in the ass, going, "What are you doing? You know, be congruent with what you're saying, and remain in the trade." But I will be more aggressive with how I tweak things a little bit later on. But so far, triggers aren't met, so I'm not moving. Guys, I hope you have enjoyed this episode. I can maybe just finish on Solana 109.54 because I know Solana is just constantly coming up in the Mastermind Discord in terms of trading. And this is the chart I've made a ton of money on. I've gone to other charts, hit or miss, but this has just been very consistent. The dips have been bought every time. And look at this. If you're a newsletter member and you're in the signals, you would have seen the signal go off and this drop here, bought, perfect. And now it's just, just flying away. If you just have a look again, and I'll show you the breakdown level that I was really interested in. I saw this sort of dropping of momentum. It's very clear pattern, this wedge moving there, but I was constantly seeing momentum showing bullish divergences, meaning momentum was going higher on the RSI, while price was just getting lower and lower and lower. So that was kind of my thinking that I think this pattern might get breached through here. And if I did see a close above the 10 EMA, which is the white line here, and above this trend line pattern, I was going to get into the trade and get pretty aggressive. So I got in early. The higher probability move here is to get in once she's above this one here. See this candle here? That was a pretty clear breakdown, and then she just fell over. So and this is volume support as well. So get above there, resistance support. 113. This level currently is the level 108.50. So this is where people will reload for that next move higher. And then once you've reclaimed this level, I mean, it's really just this one here, and then clear skies ahead. So you can play it step by step and go like that. But that's how I'm kind of looking at a lot of these charts. And in bull markets, the reclaim of the breakdown is just so useful. In more bear markets, look for more momentum at the bottoms. And then the breakouts as well. So guys, hope you have enjoyed this episode. Have a great 2024. Let's get cracking. Let's get excited and get to it. Let's make some life-changing money. All right. Have a great day. Bye-bye.